Welcome back to Dark Hives, the channel where real horror lives. If you're new here, we tell true stories. No actors, no scripts made up in a basement somewhere. Real people, real experiences, real fear. If that sounds like your kind of thing, hit subscribe right now, because what I'm about to share with you tonight, you're gonna want to come back for more. Alright, let's get into it. Most people think hospitals are safe. Bright lights, clean halls, people watching over you. But the nurses, they know the truth, because at 3 a.m., when the visitors are gone and the hallways go completely quiet, things happen that never make it into any medical report. Tonight, I'm sharing 3 true stories, straight from nurses who worked the night shift. Stories they swore they would never tell anyone. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will never look at a hospital the same way again. Our first story comes from a nurse named Sarah. She worked the overnight shift at a mid-sized hospital in rural Tennessee for 11 years. She had seen everything: codes, losses, families crying in waiting rooms at midnight, but nothing prepared her for what happened in room 412. It was a Tuesday night, barely any patients on the floor. Her only job was routine checks. Every hour, at 2 a.m., she walked past room 412 to check on Mr. Caldwell, a 78-year-old man admitted for a routine procedure. Except when she looked through the window, Mr. Caldwell was sitting straight up in bed, eyes wide open, staring at the corner of the room. Not at her, not at the door. The corner. She went in to check on him, asked if he was okay. He turned to her, slowly, and said, and I'm quoting this exactly as she told it, "Could you ask the lady to leave? She keeps touching my feet." Sarah looked at the corner. There was no one there. She stood there for a second, just standing in the doorway, looking at that corner. And I want you to think about something for a moment. You're a nurse. You've worked 11 years. You are not the kind of person who spooks easy. But there's something about a dark corner in a hospital room at 2 in the morning that does something to the part of your brain you can't control. She felt it, that feeling. You know the one where every instinct you have is telling you, something is wrong here, but your eyes are showing you nothing. She turned the light back on, checked behind the chair in the corner, checked the bathroom, checked the window, 4th floor, locked, nothing. She pulled the chair away from the corner and left it in the middle of the room. She doesn't know why she did that. She just did. Sarah wrote it off. Older patients sometimes get disoriented at night. It's actually so common in hospitals, they have a name for it: sundowning. She tucked him back in and left. At 3 a.m. she did her next round. Room 412. She looked through the window. Mr. Caldwell was sitting up again, same position, staring at the same corner. She went in. He looked at her, calm as anything, and said, "She says it's almost time." Sarah asked who he was talking about. He smiled, just smiled, and said, "My Margaret. She's been here all night." Margaret was his wife. She had passed away 6 years earlier. And here's the part that I need you to really sit with, because this is the moment that changed how Sarah thinks about death. Mr. Caldwell was not confused. He was not scared. He was not in pain. He was calm. The kind of calm you almost never see in a hospital room at 3 a.m. He looked at Sarah one more time before she left and said, "She looks just like she did when we got married." Then he closed his eyes. Sarah stood in that doorway, and she could not move. Not because she was scared, but because somewhere deep down, she believed him. Mr. Caldwell died peacefully at 4:17 that morning. The corner of his room was cold when Sarah went in to prepare the body. Colder than anywhere else in the room. She's never told that story to a supervisor, but she's told it to every nurse she's ever mentored, because they need to know. Sometimes, they are not the only ones in that room with the equipment. They shrugged it off. Glitches happen, but Marcus couldn't shake it. Because here's the thing about working in a hospital that nobody really tells you before you start. You become deeply aware of sounds. Which alarms mean what? Which beep is routine? Which one makes your stomach drop? And a code blue is not a sound you ignore. It's not a sound your body lets you ignore. Your heart rate goes up, your feet move before your brain tells them to. Every single time. So when it keeps happening from the same room at the same time, and there's nothing there, your brain starts doing something it really shouldn't do. It starts looking for an explanation that isn't medical. And once your brain goes there, it doesn't come back. It happened again the next night. Same time, 4 a.m., same room, code blue, same result, patient asleep, never touched anything. By the third night, Marcus said the nurses on that floor were refusing to walk past that room alone. On the fourth night, a veteran nurse named Denise, 22 years, on the floor, asked the charge nurse to pull the room's patient history. She wanted to know who had been in that room before. The room had been sealed for 6 months. After a patient, a 44-year-old man, had coded there, alone, in the night. No nurse had reached him in time, Marcus told me. He went back and looked at that room differently. After he found that out, he said, the room felt the same as every other room. Same lights, same smell, same equipment, but knowing what had happened in there changed the air somehow. He said it's like when you find out someone died in a house you've been living in. The house doesn't change, but you do. He started thinking about that man, 44 years old, alone, in the middle of the night, heart giving out, and nobody coming. Imagine that. Imagine being so close to help, and the help just didn't make it. Marcus said, and I'm telling you exactly what he told me. If I was that man, I think I'd set off every alarm in that building too. The code blue alarms stopped. The night they moved the current patient out of that room, Marcus transferred to a different floor. The following week, and he said, I don't know what was in that room, but whatever it was, it just didn't want to be ignored again. Our last story tonight is the one that stayed with me the longest because it doesn't involve death. It doesn't involve alarms or cold corners. It involves a child and a hallway and something that should not have been there. This comes from a pediatric nurse, we'll call her Linda, who worked nights at a children's hospital in Ohio for 8 years. One night around 1 a.m., Linda was charting at the nurse's station when she noticed movement at the far end of the hall. A little girl, standing at the end of the corridor, maybe 6 or 7 years old, white hospital gown, dark hair. Linda stood up immediately. No child should be out there at that hour. She called out softly, Sweetheart, are you okay? Do you need help getting back to your room? The girl just stared at her. Now I want you to stop for a second, because I need you to really picture this. It's 1 a.m., a children's hospital, the kind of place that's supposed to feel safe because it's full of kids who need saving. The hallway is that specific kind of quiet that only exists at night in places like that. Not silent, just still. And at the end of it, a little girl in a white gown. Not crying, not calling for anyone, not moving toward the nurse's station. Just standing there, watching. Linda said the thing that unsettled her most wasn't the girl being there. It was the way she was standing, completely still, hands at her sides, not swaying, not fidgeting the way kids do, just still, like she had been standing there for a long time, like she was used to it. Linda walked toward her, and the girl started walking backward, slowly, eyes still locked on Linda, moving backward down the hall, until she turned a corner that Linda knew. She knew this floor, like her own apartment, was a dead end. Linda rounded the corner. Empty hall. Linda stood at the end of that corridor and felt something she said she has never felt before or since in her entire nursing career. She felt like she was being watched, not from in front of her, not from the rooms on either side, from behind her. She turned around slowly. The hallway behind her was empty. Of course it was. But she said the feeling didn't go away. She said it stayed with her the entire time she searched those rooms. That low, crawling certainty that whatever she had seen at the end of that hall was now standing somewhere behind her, watching her look for it. She searched every room in under 4 minutes. She said it felt like 40. She went back to the nurse's station and pulled up the patient list for that floor. She needed to know which little girl had gotten out of bed. There were no female pediatric patients on that floor that night. Not one. Linda finished her shift. She drove home. She sat in her driveway for 20 minutes before she could go inside. She went back the next day and asked some of the older nurses, casually, like she was just curious. One of them, a nurse who had worked there for over 30 years, went very quiet, and then said, "Dark hair? End of the hall?" Linda nodded. The older nurse just said, "Don't follow her next time." Linda never saw her again. She doesn't know if that's a good thing. 3 nurses, 3 nights, 3 things that can't be explained. And somewhere out there right now, there's a nurse on a night shift, alone in a hallway, hearing something they shouldn't be hearing. If you're a nurse watching this, first of all, thank you for what you do. And second, you know I'm not making this up, don't you? If you've experienced something on a night shift, I want to hear it. Leave your story in the comments. Every story I read gets considered for a future video. And if this video got under your skin even a little bit, hit subscribe, hit the bell, because next week, we're going into another place where things happen after dark that nobody talks about. Until then, sleep with the lights on.